Yes, we are. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network on a Friday, 9 days away from the Eagles Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Shokapadia coming up top of the hour. All right. So a couple things, guys. The Eagles have been in existence since 1933. Now, there was a little stretch where they were the Steagles during World War II where they had to combine with the Steelers, which was an interesting little stretch there. But nonetheless, they've been around as an organization since 1933. During those 90 seasons, they only had 4 championships, 48, 49, 60, and 2017. So when you go essentially 15 seasons from, your existence, your founding, before you win one, then you go from 49 to 60, which is 11 seasons. You thought that was bad. That wasn't anything. They went from 60 to 17, 57 seasons without winning it. To be sitting here, guys, with a chance to win their second Super Bowl in 5 years, when you consider the history, it's pretty darn impressive. And I think it's very much a smell the roses kind of week. As much as we're all anticipating and trying to fast forward this thing, I think you also need to enjoy this a little bit because it doesn't happen very often.
I love it. It's a feeling of all right, we belong here too, though. It's not like we're sneaking in.
Yeah.
Not we're backdooring it. We belong here. Mm-hmm. We belong. We are the best team in the NFL. I love that I could say that we are the best team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it's going to unfold on not this Sunday, but next Sunday. I'm feeling real confident it's going to unfold in our favor. We are the best roster in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you sit here right now and you look at what they've been able to do. And hi, Mama Brooks, by the way.
Morning, Mom.
So as we sit here, and you look at what they did numerically in terms of wins, what they did numerically in terms of, both sides of the football, the way that they've just shredded everybody in their wake in the playoffs. And you consider only two of the 3 losses came without the starting quarterback. I mean, there's a case to be made that this team, it's not even really close to the way that they've dominated this season. I mean, they're going against a team that was the best in football offensively in Kansas City, but they didn't put up the same kind of defensive numbers that the Eagles put up. Not to mention 70 sacks during the regular season, was the third most in the history of the NFL. I mean, there's a lot of reason to feel good about this team going in to this game for sure. They have dominated, and we're in rarefied air, Derek.
That is a testament to the commitment of Jeffrey Lurie. And I mentioned this statistic a few days ago. Since he bought this team in '94, they have been to the playoffs now 17 times. It took them a lot longer than I'm sure he anticipated in terms of hoisting that Lombardi trophy. A lot of trial and error along the way, and a lot of it didn't work. And they finally got it right in 17, and we just assumed that they were going to consistently be back after that because finally that monkey had been off their back. But we know how difficult it is. We will never see, I don't think, in the history of pro football, the run that the team like New England Patriots had. They had a blueprint that nobody else was able to emulate, which was shocking because it's such a copycat league. I can't believe more front offices didn't study what New England was doing to maintain it. I mean, like 15 years?
Yeah.
We still don't know what they were doing, though.
To win 15 consecutive division titles, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 7 Super Bowl trophies. And the biggest obvious part was they very seldom cared about draft picks. If they felt they were going to keep a high draft pick, it was because they felt they wanted to get younger at a certain spot, and they had already identified that one player. He didn't have to be the top 15 players because, let's face it, during that run, very seldom did they draft above 23, 25, 26 because of the records. But they would identify that one player. If that one player was not there, they trade those picks and go out and get themselves a proven player already. That was the one biggest criteria that most other teams never tried to emulate. So it was a lot of trial and error with this team. and you look at what they put together over the last 2 years, this wasn't just a one-year wonder for Howie Roseman. This started in the 2021 draft.
Mm-hmm.
The way he changed his mindset of drafting and the way they strategically went about their business of bringing in the right free agents to complement the draft picks. And most importantly, the GM openly admitting he needed to do a better job of listening to people on the outside and not thinking he was the smartest man in the room. That's huge when you make that kind of concession.
You can't emulate, like they said on the stream, what the Patriots did, because you can't get away with that now. You can't cheat the way they cheated. I mean, I'll say that because I know we lost the Super Bowl. We weren't in the Super Bowl because they did the same thing against us. That's when that Spygate stuff really started going out, when they played us in a championship game. But long story long, the Eagles are becoming that gold standard. Mr. Lurie has changed the page on basically, what he saw with the old management, the old coaching, the old coaches, the old ownership that they had. I mean, I heard that, the owner before him didn't even care to be up here. Like, he lived in Florida and would just fly up on game day and fly right back out that night.
Yep.
He wasn't even involved with the front office. He wasn't even involved in any football operations.
Yeah, Brayman was the worst.
Brayman. Oh, yeah. But that's his name, Brayman. Yeah.
He was the worst.
It was car dealerships, right?
Yeah, and he had
about that.
He had a place in Florida, a place in France. It was strictly a business investment. There was no heart involved. The measures he went to cut corners, pennies. You guys had to buy your own socks. He wouldn't do anything to upgrade the facilities. He was
first year too.
He was a carpetbagger of epic proportion, is what he was.
When I first got to Philly, my first year there, we used to have to give him a check, $100 check for socks and jocks.
Mm-hmm.
What?
And I think after my second year, it stopped, but it stopped because the guy that was the equipment manager was gone. They fired him. Somebody else came in. But yeah, everybody on the team had to give him $100 for socks and jocks.
Makes you wonder where that money was going to.
No, he was keeping it. He was keeping it.
That's unbelievable.
And then he'd do stuff like he would order stuff on our Nike deals.
What?
Yeah, order stuff on our Nike deals and give it to other players.
Yeah.
Like if another player, instead of giving him a stock out of the back, he would order some shoes off my deal, my Nike deal, and he might give it to someone like Freddie Solomon. I'm like, whoa. What gave you the right to do that?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
not surprised. Everything from Brayman was a horror story that you heard from people.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey Lurie comes in. And look at what he's done. He took over in 94. Now, to his credit, buys a team for $195 million. They're worth over $1 billion now, well over $1 billion.
That's crazy.
That's a nice return on your investment, for sure.
He borrowed the money from his aunt.
Yeah. He did. My aunt used to give me $1 for my birthday. I'm not kidding you. I get my card, and I'd be excited, man. That $1, man, I could go get some candy or something.
That's right.
Yeah. My one aunt used to tape a quarter into cards, like Scotch tape. A little different, but anyway. So under Jeffrey Lurie, 17 playoff appearances, Super Bowl championship, 2 Super Bowls, at least, non-championship in 2004 and this year. This year could make it 2 championships as well. 10 NFC East titles, 3 NFC championships, build a new stadium, build a practice facility, has killed it with philanthropic efforts, including the Eagles' autism, research that they've done. He's hired Ray Rhodes, Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and Nick Sirianni. Each of those guys has brought the team to the playoffs. Andy and Doug and Sirianni at least to a Super Bowl. Doug and maybe Sirianni now potentially winning a Super Bowl. Almost everything that he's done, man, and it's not all going to be perfect. There's been mistakes along the way. He turned power over to Chip Kelly and all that. We get it. But for the most part, this guy's been an unbelievable owner.
How many teams can say How many owners can say in their entire tenure of ownership that they've had coaches, every coach they've hired has taken them to a playoff? You know, and how many times, well, since I've been here, did we look side-eyed at, why are you hiring this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you go with some unknown commodity? Why did you go with this college boy wonder? But yet every time he's made the right decision in terms of a coach for that specific time and era. You know, it's amazing. Now, obviously, you would hope the championships would have come with more frequency, championship appearances. They didn't, and fans, you know, didn't like Lurie, didn't like Howie. Many didn't like Joe Banner. You know, but Jeffrey Lurie has stayed to the course in terms of his model for what kind of coach he wants to hire. He hasn't buckled to outside pressure. You know, because in the time I've been here, from Andy to Chip to Doug to Sirianni, it was always, why didn't they hire this more proven commodity? Because they were always up against names who were already established coaches in the National Football League. He stayed the course. He didn't buckle under that media/fan pressure. And now, as we look at it right now, you have to sit back and applaud him for what he's done in terms. I mean, you could tell he may not be from here, but his heart is in Philadelphia. He wants the best for these fans. He wants that consistent pride that this city lives off of implemented each and every time he puts a football team on the field. Sometimes it's had to take 2 steps back to get 2 steps ahead. But the bottom line is, look at where it is today.
Mm-hmm. Bro, I can literally go to him right now, and I have no doubt in my mind, if I needed it, he would give it to me. I was his first draft class. I was his first offensive lineman he ever drafted, and I can almost guarantee it. If I go to say, Mr. Lurie, hey man, I need this, please, I need this, he wouldn't even blink an eye. It'd be done. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of guy he is. Every time I see him, you know what I'm saying, he's always been up front with me. Mr. Lurie, I believe we have a great relationship. You know,
that's good.
And I don't have to go to him, but I'm just saying, if I needed to, I definitely think I could.
Yeah. I mean, when we had Ray Didinger on earlier this week, and the good news is he's going to continue to do his Tommy and Me play, which is awesome. But he has a host of that play who ends up taking questions from the audience and asking the cast questions and all that he does, or at least he was doing up until pre-pandemic. So, and I happened to be one of the hosts one night, and Jeffrey Lurie was in the audience, and it was the first time he had seen the play. And he didn't have to do this. He could have rolled right after the play. He sat up in front with us, with me. He sat next to me, and then there was the cast. And he took questions from the audience. I asked him questions. The cast asked him questions. It was great. He sat there for like an additional half hour after the show, which I thought was a pretty cool move, when he could have just very easily, hey, Ray, congratulations, see you later, and gotten right into his, his car. So that told you a little something. And he was very touched with some of the questions. It was people were appreciative, but people had real questions for him too. And he answered everything. He didn't duck anything. And it was pretty cool, I thought, which told you a little bit something. But there's no doubt. I mean, the culture of where things are headed now, and Howie Roseman deserves a lot of this love too, compared to what it was. Even pre-Andy, man, there were a lot of lean years. They went from 1960 to 78 without making the playoffs, guys.
Jeez.
18 years.
Jeez.
Okay? I mean, think about how horrid that was. They didn't sell out the vet. They would have games that were blacked out. The home crowd couldn't watch them. They never won the NFC East. Dallas, they were just the way station for Dallas, just to smoke every single year. They were a placemat.
It'd be a week off. Play your young guys.
Yeah, it was like homecoming every time the Cowboys.
Right. Bro, let me tell you about that, bro. Homecoming. Yeah. What's wrong? D-Gun's boy.
Who?
Mr. Lurie. I need a White Castles franchise at the link. John Dickerson just said, that's your boy, D-Gun. That's your boy, man.
Oh my goodness.
Talking about homecomings, bro. My first year I got to college at Kansas State. Kansas State hadn't won a game in 5 years. They won one game the year before. I go there because they're going to let me play basketball and football. I could have went anywhere I wanted to go, and I went there because I played basketball, football. Long story long, I get there. I'm redshirted, and I'd be damned that teams would have early homecomings to play us, bruh. I mean, we had early and late. I played in 8 homecoming games, including ours.
Oh my God, that's crazy, man.
That's the worst, bro. Yeah, it was that bad, bro. Kansas State, man.
Damn,
that bad.
Wow, 8 homecomings in one season,
bro.
Wow.
My last game was against Colorado. Was in Colorado. They took me. I don't know why they took me. Like I was gonna, burn my red shirt over this last game. There was no way I was gonna play in it. But they dressed me and everything. So I go up there. I'm on the field and I'm watching Colorado. They had these 2 defensive ends, Canavis McGee and Alfred Williams. They was beating us so bad that those 2 came in on offense, were catching 10-yard outs on us, stop routes on us. They had this guy. He was Asian. He didn't have a name on the back of his jersey. There were no buffaloes on his helmet. And he ran a reversal like 20 yards.
Oh my God.
My freshman year, my redshirt year was the worst.
That's
the
unbelievable.
Worst.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, bro, it was bad. It was bad.
All right, you want to hear a funny line from Lane Johnson?
What is that?
Who we had on earlier in the week. Again, you can check out all of this. Go to JAKIBsports.com, JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. We get all the best guests. Okay, not to toot our own horn, but we do. Pretty funny line. So this is, regarding, what's different. Essentially, what's different about you this time around? 5 years later, your team was in a Super Bowl, but you're able to get through it, and you're having, an amazing season. You're playing through the injuries, on and on and on. So that was the question posed to him. What's different about you? He said a little older, a little wiser, a little balder. That was Lane Johnson's. It's funny to see these guys when they get drafted and they have hair and everything is different.
Right.
It was like clean cut, and then
baby faces.
What they look like now. So
look at him now.
But,
looks like he just ripped the arms off kids or something.
Yeah, but that's okay. You're talking about the guy who's the most dominant tackle in football.
Right.
But pretty amazing when you see it. Look, I'm to me, just to get it back to the point of what we were making with where things are a little bit. I do think Eagles fans appreciate it. Like I don't think that they're walking around oblivious to unless you're really young and you didn't experience it. Then I get it. But the ones who have been around for a little while know how hard this can be, how many disappointments. I mean, just think about it, what it was like. And Gunnar, you covered all these teams during Andy Reid's time. What were they, favorites in 4 of those games? And they end up going 1-4. Yeah. Yep. And they go, 5. Yeah. And they they only got 1 Super Bowl appearance out of it, and you lost that one. So even though that era was really good, man, and I think it propelled them to kind of be usually good. You turn it over every couple of years, but that team didn't do what this little era is doing right now.
No, and to add insult to injury, back during that era when they ran 5 consecutive NFC championship games, they lose to a Carolina team that shouldn't even been on the field with them. But McNabb gets hurt in that game. And then Tampa Bay game still sticks in a lot of people's craws because there was no way anybody on the planet thought Tampa Bay would come in here and beat this team, 27-10. And the signature moment of the game is Rondé Barber running down I-95 with a pick 6 to seal the Eagles' fate. As much as people applaud what they're doing now, people still talk about those moments. But the good thing is, they finally found a way to kind of put that in that rearview mirror with 17, and of course what has happened with this team this year. Mm-hmm. But Barrett has said it all the time. I've covered this game for over 4 decades, man. There's no such thing as a given when you play in the NFL. No matter how good you look, the best team on paper does not always win the big moments. Absolutely. There's no question about that, And then you got to start all over again, the grind of starting all over again. And since the advent of free agency, the pieces are not the same. When you came up through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the early 90s, the pieces were for the most part the same. You just had to make sure you drafted right so you could add certain pieces to make it a little bit better. But once free agency started, you got and salary caps and all this stuff, it's a revolving door, man. And sometimes when you get that close, you got to step all the way back. Look at the Rams. You got to step all the way back and start all over again now. So yeah, appreciate this moment, because like that song says, Rob, you remember who says, "We may never come this way again." Who sang that song?
We may never come this way again.
Is that Crosby, Stills and Nash?
Oh my God, I gotta find it. I don't know.
I don't know who the hell you're talking
about. I mean, it's a classic song.
No, you're right. Seals and Croft. Seals and Croft.
Okay, Seals and Croft.
Never heard of them before.
You never heard of Seals and Croft?
No.
They were huge in the 70s. They had a lot. Diamond Girl. They had a lot of hits. Yeah.
Seals and Croft. I gotta listen to it now.
I'll get you some Seals and Croft knowledge. Don't start me. All right. I'll dig them up right now. All right, let's see. American soft rock band, which is right up your alley, Barrett. You love that. Yacht music, rock yacht music.
Summer Breeze.
Jim Seals and Dash Crofts. First of all, that's a great name, Dash Crofts.
Oh, that's Summer Breeze, man.
Summer Breeze.
Yes, there you go.
Makes
me feel fine.
Yeah.
Blowing through the jasmine in my mind. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They had some. They peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Top 100. There you go. They disbanded in '80. They broke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do. I went a little too far though. I went to Soundstage and it kind of messed me up, bro. But I was in with the Summer Breeze though, man.
Summer Breeze was strong. Yeah, Summer Breeze.
Yeah, I was in with that.
But yeah, you went too far. You took it a notch too far. But really, I mean, it is amazing, and the run they're on with coaches is the other thing. Andy wasn't even a coordinator,
right?
I guess Ray had built up a pretty good reputation, but Ray wasn't a super well-known name when they hired Ray Rhodes. And then they go Andy, and then they go Chip, which was a little bit unconventional, even though he was the hot name. And then they go Doug. And then Nick Sirianni was yet another example of kind of like who?
I knew Chip wasn't going to do well. I knew he wasn't going to do well. Simply because, like the year they hired him, I did like 6 games, Chip's games for ESPN.
Yeah.
And I can remember it was me and Matt Millen. Mm-hmm. And Millen be trying to interview him, talking about who he's playing against, like Cal Berkeley or Arizona, or Washington State. And instead of talking about them, he would want to talk about, hey, you think my system can work in the NFL? You think it'll be all right? He's like, I don't know if you better do what you're doing right now, man, because you're dealing with grown men. You're the captain of these kids' fate. Mm-hmm. Those guys with that are going to be making more money than you, so you just can't tell them. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. This is like I said. You just can't piss on their head and tell them it's raining. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing, though, Barrett. I think that's great insight right there. I think that it was really when the mistake's made, you can go one of two ways. You can kind of just bury your head and woe is me, or you say, all right, I'm going to learn from this and not make this mistake again. And I think Jeffrey Lurie really learned, especially from turning the power over to him. Like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never making that mistake. I probably went against my gut and I gave into a guy who was trying to do a power play on me, and I let him do it. And I think he learned from it. He's not gonna make that mistake again. I don't think, at least.
I would have never thought he'd have fired a coach during the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I told you all you needed to know. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't. I mean, if half the stories are true with the way he fractured the building, that's like secretaries, like, come on, man.
How can the lunch lady not like you? The lunch like everybody.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
The janitors, security guards, even former players. He alienated former players who hold prominent standing within that organization, man. And
remember, he had what's his name in there? Big Trey. Yeah. Big Trey said, I just can't do it, man.
Yeah.
Big Trey left.
I mean, his running gun style of practices and running players in the ground, not respecting veterans. He treated everybody like whether they were a rookie or a 10-year vet the same. That rubbed people the wrong way, man. His only saving grace was first 2 years he won 10 games. That was his only saving grace. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out that third year, and they couldn't wait.
Coordinators get paid millions of dollars, man, to stop gimmick stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I think the final straw was after one game. He got fired in December, I believe it was.
Yep.
And it was the day after he held a press conference. And I was there, and I forgot the question that was asked, but he basically put it off on somebody else. I didn't make that decision. That's not my decision. And I guess
he said no. He's like, no, I'm not the GM. I'm not the GM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the final straw. That was it, you know.
Bruh. Yeah. when DeMarco Murray went and set up there next to the owner and told him, hey man, you got to get rid of this dude. And he got rid of him 2 days later.
But when you've been given carte blanche, you walked in the door as this college wonder kid, and you had enough carte blanche to get the existing GM jettisoned down the hall.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you think you can do and say whatever you want, whenever you want, as long as you produced on the field? Why wouldn't you? Anybody would.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
But the fact that was his approach, he basically tried to use a college approach in the NFL. He was a god at Oregon.
Right.
And nobody could tell him nothing. You know, even the ADs were you know, subjected to him.
Yep.
You know, why wouldn't you think he took a 4-12 team in 1 year, made him a 10-6 team. Why wouldn't you believe that if the owner can allow me to cast aside the GM, I can do whatever I want here?
Yeah.
Plus, he was trying to get out of Oregon anyways, because they were going on suspended. They were about to get suspended and everything else.
Investigations.
Yeah, I hear you. It's true, man. It's true. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, Jason Kelsey was asked today about Sirianni, and he said he's done a phenomenal job creating an atmosphere where players and coaches can be the best versions of themselves. I don't think that was Chip's objective. Was basically like, this is the way it is, and you guys figure it out. You know, and it's like, that stuff doesn't work, man. You're not around 19-year-olds. And back then you had much more of a hammer than the guys even do now in college sports because of the transfer portal and NIL. When Chip was there, he could guess what? You're not playing. You don't like it, you're not playing. You do it my way. And it's not like that anymore.
Look at all the talent he pushed out of the building.
He did. Yes, he did. That's for sure. All right, we'll come back. Oh, my goodness. Kapadia. Yeah,
Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you're right, Gunner. Like, transcendent kind of talent. So we'll talk to Sheil, who's a podcaster and writer for The Ringer, when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. That's Barrett Brooks. I'm Rob Ellis, hanging out with you on this Friday. Let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. Pro Action Restoration are the folks that you reach out to if your business, your home, a property you may own goes through the inconvenience, the pain and that you have to deal with of fire, of water, of smoke damage, of mold remediation. You name it, they can handle it. Pro Action is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. That means if you have a problem at night, you have a problem on a holiday, you have a problem on a weekend, you can call them. I can tell you that for a fact. I called them on a Saturday and they got right out to my parents' house. Crew was professional. They cleaned it up. The price was reasonable. You name it. It was a great experience. The other good thing, they are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. That is a reputable company. Just go online and just look at some of the write-ups on them, and nothing short of amazing. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. They can handle anything: water, fire, smoke, mold damage, you name it. They are the folks to reach out to. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Go for the beers